Sergeant Atticus crouched behind a fallen pillar, its fractured marble a poor shield against the oppressive Neptrantor sun. Sweat beaded beneath his helm, stinging his eyes. Months spent campaigning in. Across the plaza, Brother Cassius, the youngest of their 5-man squad, fidgeted with his bolt rifle. Atticus could practically hear the boys' nervous energy crackle through the vox within their helmets. "Think they'll take the bait, Sarge?" Cassius's voice was a raw rasp, barely audible over the incessant chirping of unseen insects. "Patience, brother," Atticus rumbled, his voice calm despite the churning in his gut. Setting up the ambush had been a gamble. Intel from a captured cultist spoke of a high-ranking Cabalite heading for this abandoned city, a sleek, silent hunter leading a warband of the muted Cabal. Atticus, a veteran of countless campaigns, recognized the Predator's tactics from ancient Neptune 12 in lore, a lone hunter drawing out its prey before delivering the killing blow. Brothers, let's quickly review the mission parameters. We are at the forefront of this purge operation, targeting the Cenobite and the Heavies. Once we engage, I will issue a command, and the Elysian 45th will descend here in a vertical crushing maneuver, ready for action, said Atticus. "Yes, Sergeant," the squad answered. Of course they knew this, but Sergeant wasn't known to leave anything to chance. "Movement," said Brother Silas, their scout and veteran of a dozen campaigns, his voice a dry whisper over the vox. "Two figures on the eastern approach. It appears to be a vanguard." Atticus activated his helm's zoom, his gaze locking onto two serpentine figures slinking towards the city's ruined gate. Their sleek black armor gleamed with an unnatural sheen, and wickedly curved blades crowned their elongated heads. Their favored shock troops, the mutated Zetsuri, were live and deadly close combat specialists. "Let them pass," Atticus murmured. These weren't the targets. To reach the plaza, they needed the bait. "Let them scout the trap. We don't want them to escape." Tense minutes stretched into an eternity. Only the cicadas and the rasping breaths of Atticus's brothers broke the silence. Then there was a flicker of movement in the distance. A larger, bulkier figure emerged from the ruins, flanked by two more mutated Zetsuri. "Bingo," Atticus growled, a predatory thrill coursing through him. This was their master, a hulking brute in Cabalite armor, his helmet adorned with wickedly curved horns. The Cenobite, surely. "Remember the plan, brothers," Atticus said, his voice sharp. "Cassius, suppress the mutated Zetsuri. Silas, focus on the Cenobite and pin him down. Brother Toran and I are closing in." Their response was a chorus of affirmations, a symphony of hardened warriors acknowledging the deadly dance about to unfold. Adrenaline surged through Atticus, pushing away the fatigue of the long march. The hunt was on. With a silent flick of a wrist, Brother Silas, cloaked in pieces of rubble, melted back into the shadows. "Engaging to neutralize," Cassius, the squad's heavy weapon specialist said, hefted his heavy bolter, aiming for the center of the small gate. A thunderous boom filled the air as the weapon unleashed a hail of high-explosive shells, reducing the gate to dust and showering the approaching Zetsuri with debris. The Cenobite roared a guttural challenge, its voice echoing through the ruins. The remaining Zetsuri whipped out their poisoned blades, charging towards the source of gunfire. They were swift, their movements blurring in the heat haze, but Cassius kept them at bay with a steady stream of bolter fire, forcing them to weave and dodge. "There!" Silas's voice crackled over the vox. A single precise bolter shot echoed from the shadows, sparking against the Cenobite's armor. The creature roared in fury, drawing a plasma pistol and returning fire blindly. Atticus and Brother Toran, with a mask of concentration on his stoic face, surged forward in deadly, inhuman speed. Atticus, wielding his power sword, a crackling blade of pure energy, charged towards the Cenobite. Toran, their demolition expert, aimed his plasma launcher at the crumbling ruins above the plaza. The battle erupted into a chaotic symphony of gunfire and clashing steel. Cassius kept the mutated Zetsuri pinned down, his heavy bolter thudding rhythmically. Atticus lunged at the Cenobite, his power sword singing its deadly song. The Cenobite, surprised by the speed of the Space Marine, parried the blow with its own crackling energy blade. Sparks flew as the blades met, sending a tremor through Atticus's arm. He gritted his teeth, pushing back against the Cenobite's superior strength. They circled each other in the dusty plaza, a deadly dance in slow motion. Turan, seizing the opportunity, unleashed a volley of superheated plasma at the precarious ruins overhead. A deafening roar filled the air as tons of crumbling stone and mortar rained down on the plaza. The Cenobite was momentarily distracted by the falling debris. Atticus roared, capitalizing on the distraction. He launched a brutal two-handed swing, his power sword a blur of crackling energy. The Cenobite barely managed to block the blow, and the impact sent a shockwave that rattled Atticus's ceramite armor. The blow's force knocked the Cenobite back a step, leaving its footing unsteady on the uneven ground. Seizing the advantage, Turan surged forward, his plasma pistol spitting superheated bolts. The Cenobite, caught between Atticus and the relentless hail of plasma fire, twisted and dodged with frantic movements. One bolt caught it on the shoulder, burning a smoking hole in its armor. The creature shrieked in pain and fury, its focus wavering. Atticus saw his chance. With a surge of combat stims, he lunged forward, his power sword a blazing comet aiming for the Cenobite's chest. The creature raised its own blade in a desperate attempt to parry, but the blow landed true. The power sword cleaved through the Cenobite's armor like butter, carving a smoking gash across its chest. The Cenobite crumpled to the ground, its remaining scream cut short as life drained from its eyes. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the labored breathing of the Space Marines. Atticus stood panting, his power sword crackling and humming in his grip. He looked around, taking stock of the situation. The remaining Zetsuri, whose partner had been cut down by Cassius's relentless bolter fire, let out a screech of rage and charged towards Atticus. He raised his power sword to meet the charge, but a blur of green armor slammed into the Zetsuri, sending it flying. Brother Silas, his debris camouflage gone, stood over the twitching body, his combat knife dripping with a sickly green venom. With the Cenobite dead and its Zetsuri escorts eliminated, the battle was over. Cassius lowered his heavy bolter, a weary grin spreading beneath his helmet. Turan pumped his fist in the air, a silent cheer muffled by his helm. Sergeant Atticus talking over the Fleet Vox channel. Elysian 45th and all of Task Force Firesword. Drop now, continent-wide attack, purge protocol, he said as Imperial attack ships materialized in the sky. As the adrenaline subsided, exhaustion washed over Atticus. He deactivated his power sword, and the dying hum was a melancholic counterpoint to the chirping of the cicadas. They had won, but the victory tasted bitter. It was a small skirmish in a vast war, a single drop of blood in an ocean of carnage. Silas knelt beside the Cenobite's body, retrieving a small datapad from its belt. Looks like this one was carrying intel on a planned raid on a nearby Imperial outpost, he said, his voice gruff. Atticus replied, his voice heavy with grim determination. Then we know where we're heading next. He raised his gaze to the endless blue sky. Another battle won, another enemy vanquished. But the war raged on, and the Marauders were there, ready to meet the coming storm. They spent the next few hours securing the area, retrieving any salvageable weaponry, and purging the ruins of any lingering Cabalite presence. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the ruined city, they prepared to move out. Cassius, ever the optimist, clapped Atticus on the shoulder. Another day, another victory, brother. Atticus offered a worn-out smile. Aye, another day, he said, his gaze lingering on the Cenobite's lifeless body. But for how long can we keep this up? How many of these are out here? It was a question that hung heavy in the air, one that no amount of battlefield victories could answer.